My name is Joshua Holmes. I am 42, going to be 42 next week. I've had epilepsy my whole life. Um, all kinds. They seem to pick and choose as life goes. Keto was briefly mentioned, but ultimately John Hopkins, after we had gone to every hospital around the country, finally said that brain surgery was the only option yet. And so keto kind of got pushed to the side. It wasn't very popular in, I want to say 2011. Has grown in popularity since, of course. But at the time, it was not the go-to quite yet. So we went brain surgery, and then things actually exacerbated, excuse me, the situation. Seizures changed, and from generalized to even more violent grand mals. And ever since, it's just been kind of a experiment to try to figure things out. We were told prior to the surgery that I potentially could lose half of my motor skills on my one side, and that I would potentially have to do a whole year's worth of physical rehab to get it all back. There was a possibility that I could lose sight up top. And we went in, and it turned out that I had a mass of 3 veins instead of 1 vein like your normal person has a regular single cortical mass down the center. I guess I have a chunk. And they had to do a hemispherectomy with some excess left over, which then resulted in a loss of sight in to the right in each eye. So I have half my sight. And it also took half the sensory. I have half my sense in my left side. So those were 2 big surprises that occurred when they took out the, is it the left half? The right half. And now I operate on a single half. And my sense is just like that on my right side. Everything else is normal. But it was a big loss, and it didn't fix the seizures. They got worse. So it ended up being one test of a million to try to fix it. And I just remember waking up and my dad was leaning over me, crying, trying to ask me if I could see him, and I couldn't see him. Not being able to see is definitely a challenge. I mean, socially, and just, living out in the world is, you're kind of confined to a half space, no matter where you are. And that it does add to how easily it is to get around and function. But I've done it, and it's the big thing is that not being able to see on the right side adds to the shock factor when your brain doesn't send messages to see. It also contributes to the seizures. So it's been a real adaptation process to grow accustomed to what's not there, and the stimulation that occurs even though I can't see it. And I think I've had a lot more seizures as a result of not having control over that blind spot. And it's never really been addressed. In terms of going to a doctor to try and find results, I mean, it really was simply that, going in, telling them how many seizures I'm having every 6 months, and them basically trying to offer up a new medicine. And that was their answer for the next several years. And there wasn't any answer. It just changed how I seized. It really didn't decrease them. It didn't improve them. It just offered a lot of side effects. And yeah, medication it's a traumatizing tool. It really is. Topamax was a disaster drug for me. I lost a lot of weight. It just affected my cognitive abilities, and it took several months to be weaned off of it and get back onto another drug. I ended up having 4 of those over the next several years. Every 3 minutes for 2 minutes, it sends off an electrical impulse to your brain to negate, I guess, a negative charge to negate a positive charge, or vice versa, something like that. And it was supposed to work, and we thought maybe it did, but the longer I had them, it was more of a psychological thing. I was in the college choir for 4 years with the device, and the thing was going off every few minutes, jerking your neck, your vagus nerve. So my final one actually burst, or the battery leaked, and that was perhaps one of the most traumatizing events that I've been through. My parents had to pull over, and I was throwing up, and at like 1 o'clock in the morning, we finally had my neurologist turn it off, and I had it taken out the next day, I think. That was my last one, needless to say. So the vagus nerve didn't work for me. It seems to have varying results for a number of different people. And then from there, it was back to medicine. And all throughout my 20s and 30s. And none of which worked. Vimpat was one of them. Finally got switched over to Depakote. Keppra offered a really substantial cloud over your thinking, and learned how went through the weaning process, where I finally went on the extended release versions, and they offer up less of a cloud because it's secreted over a period of time. thing about the extended release pills, though, is that they offer a whole new host of challenges for people with epilepsy, because you have to then uh, go on uh, a diet that digests things very slowly. And that's where the keto became very helpful to me when I went on the extended release pills. The more fatty protein, I guess I should be saying Atkins, because I do follow more of an Atkins as opposed to a literal keto diet. But as minimal amount of sugar and carbs as possible is what I try to do to slow everything down, so the pills secrete over a 24-hour period of time, not all at once, and then so you're not left, without blocks of medicine in your system. We didn't get to the point of surgery, or even the diet for that matter, until we had tried every medicine basically on the market. The barbitals, the I want to say the Depakine, Tegretol, Lamictal, and they all had side effects, but bottom line, they just didn't work. Everything from teeth coloration to mood to just basically ineffectiveness. And that's where I'm really at today with medicine. I got to a point where I said to the neurologist, I'm now 40 years old and I don't want to be experimented on anymore. And that was when I more actively sought the diet route. I've seen a lot of changes in how effective the medicine is contingent on the diet, and it's actually something I wish that the community, medical community, was more of an advocate about, in terms of preparing your body for creating an environment for the medicine, rather than the other way around. I've had varying I don't know, the way they treat me, and the way they treat my proactive approach, I guess, to solving my own problems, has evoked different responses from different neurologists. I would say not really positively. They just want to give you a lot of medicine. They don't seem to know exactly what it does. They say this is popular drug. I'm giving this to a lot of people. Let's try this. And I'm like, no, we're not playing that game. I have told them about the diet, and they're kind of like, well, that's not really my specialty. And there is that concern between doctors and specialists. They don't want to step on each other's toes, as opposed to working with one another. The neurologist does not want to step on the dietitian's toe, and the dietitian doesn't want to step on the neurologist's toe. And so they kind of send you back and forth. And I actually did that. My neurologist sent me to a dietitian for a while, and then she sent me back to our neurologist after I made a few changes. But they wouldn't work together, which didn't make any sense to me. So a lot of the diet stuff for me has been, or the knowledge that I accrued was uh, self uh, search, really. Um, I, as Facebook kind of offered up more of these support groups, you start to learn little pieces of information. Um, and I think I became more proactive in searching out different things. Um, but I also need to preface that a lot of the medicine failures um, caused me to uh, further explore the why they weren't working, or what was the medicine taking from me that a specific diet could give me. And I learned a lot of I know Kepra, for example, takes magnesium, sodium, um, and depletes you in just a number of different things, and can affect you physically and psychologically if you don't address them. And so I started, well, I'll try B6. I'll try, an adjustment here. I'll stop doing sugar here, or so it's been kind of an evolution. As things haven't worked, you kind of search for the things that will. One of the biggest things was that I was having a lot of sensations in my eyes, um, all throughout college, my first college, and 5 years worth of being in some sort of it's almost like an alternate reality. You merge with something that's in front of you, but not really. You're um, and when I decided to start removing sugar, that sensation in my eyes literally left. And that started to, convince me that the Atkins actually is probably the route that I need to go. So that really changed that was a turning point for me, when that sensation in my eyes stopped. It didn't stop the seizures, but it stopped that kind, and it changed my lifestyle. I was like, in my late 30s, I started to see the world that I saw through virtual reality, almost my entire life, through a different lens. It was like I'd go through York and see buildings that I saw as a kid, all warped, and it would feel like I was seeing them again for the first time through a normal set of eyes. And just because I got rid of the sugar. So it was a massive change through the diet. Well, I definitely would recommend the Atkins diet. Um, I know that I initially was attempting the keto diet, and it was brought to my attention that the Atkins was more conducive to the adult. And so I guess my advice would be ease into it. Don't expect that it's all gonna happen at once. It really is an experimental process. Learning to pick the foods that are healthy for you and fit into that Atkins category from a grocery store is an art within itself. And everything is so processed, and everything is so sugar based, and we live in a carb society. And I just would recommend that you look for those key foods that work initially and try to build onto your diet. Um, I'm still doing it a couple years after the fact, and I'm getting better. So I believe that anyone out there who's in need of the Atkins diet can ease into it and improve with time.